the night I learned that his first love had died. My husband went insane. In the living room, in the bedroom, in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. I was exhausted from being taken again and again. Yet he still clung to me relentlessly, refusing to let go. At the height of his emotions, his trembling voice whispered, "Let's not meet in the next life." The next morning, my husband jumped off the rooftop and ended the rest of his life. Only then did I realize he had never let Diana go. After being reborn back into our youth, he resolutely shook off my hand and strode toward his first love. I watched them walk away and turn to leave. From that moment on, our lives became two parallel lines that would never intersect again. 10 years later, we met again at a gala in Beijing. He was already a successful CEO, effortlessly navigating the business world with Diana in his arms. When he saw me suddenly enter the banquet hall, he smiled calmly. "I'm very happy now. It's been 10 years, there's absolutely no possibility between us." I ignored him and instead turned to catch my son as he ran into my arms. His expression darkened instantly. His voice turned hoarse. "You're doing this to spite me, aren't you? Didn't you promise you would only ever love me?" Chapter 1. I originally thought I would never cross paths with Marco again in this lifetime. At the gala in Beijing, he stood at the center of the hall with Diana in his arms. His noble, composed temperament was completely different from the man I remembered. Many people approached him with flattering smiles, full of praise. "Mr. Marco, as expected of someone educated at a top school, you signed a 10 million contract in just 3 years. So many companies are fighting to work with you. I attended your engagement party last month, the scale was unforgettable. Your fiancée is truly blessed." Marco lowered his head and looked at the shy Diana in his arms. Their fingers intertwined. "Our wedding will be in 3 months. I promise to give Diana the grandest ceremony. I hope all of you can come witness our happiness." Everyone offered their congratulations. Someone standing closest to Marco couldn't help but ask curiously, "You two have been together for 10 years, why didn't you get married earlier?" She asked the very question that had been in my heart. In my previous life, after Marco and I got our marriage certificate, he was willing to abandon everything to die with Diana, turning me into a laughingstock. After my rebirth, he abandoned me as I lay dying in the hospital after saving him, and resolutely went to pursue his white first love. I thought he would marry her at once. Yet it turned out they only registered after 10 full years. Marco's expression stiffened for a moment, but he soon relaxed and explained softly, "I didn't want Diana to suffer with me when I had nothing. She deserves the best life." He tightened his grip on her hand, happiness shining in his eyes. In my previous life, I was with him for 10 years. Yet he never mentioned marriage. Only when his grandmother was critically ill and his family pressured him, did he reluctantly obtain a marriage certificate with me. But he refused to hold a wedding no matter what. Now I finally understood. His indifference back then was simply because he didn't love me. When I received a message on my phone, I was about to leave, but I collided with a server walking toward me. The wine he carried spilled all over me. Yet instead of apologizing, he scolded me loudly. "I know all the guests invited tonight. You're not on the list. Where did you sneak in from?" The crash of the glass hitting the ground drew the attention of everyone nearby. When Marco saw me, surprise flashed through his eyes. "Camila, didn't you leave Beijing long ago?" I ignored him and turned to the irritated server. "I'm here to find someone. I'll leave right away." The server immediately changed to a fawning smile toward Marco. "Mr. Marco, do you know her?" Marco was silent for a moment, then nodded. "An ex-girlfriend." Someone nearby couldn't hold back and blurted out, "But I remember Mr. Marco and Diana are each other's first love." Diana gave an embarrassed smile, then leaned softly against Marco. "I was the one who insisted on going abroad back then, that's why we were separated. He only dated someone else to spite me." Memories from my past life surged up. No wonder Marco, who had ignored my countless attempts to get close, had suddenly confessed to me. It turned out he only wanted to make his white first love jealous. Marco downed the red wine in his hand before saying to the server, "I'll cover the damages. Tell her to leave." His tone was calm. He merely glanced at my embarrassed appearance before returning to comforting Diana. To everyone else, he was still the deeply devoted, loyal man, and I was nothing more than an unwelcome intruder disrupting the event. The server hurriedly urged me to leave. Mr. Marco is already letting you off the hook. Don't be an eyesore here. He looked at the coat casually draped over my shoulders and frowned. This isn't the kind of place just anyone can come to. I'm embarrassed for you. I avoided his hand and patiently explained. I'm only here to find someone. I won't disturb anyone. I'll leave as soon as I do. The server sneered loudly, raising his voice intentionally. I've seen plenty like you, making excuses to freeload food and drinks. If you don't leave now, don't blame me for calling security. Wait! Chapter 2. Marco's words made the waiter tremble, forcing him to swallow the threat he was about to shout. Marco let out a soft sigh and walked toward me slowly. She's here to find me. Diana quickly lifted her skirt and followed him, holding onto his arm as she gave me a bright, delicate smile. Camila, if you came to give your blessing to Marco and me, I'll accept it on his behalf. But if you're here to cause trouble, then please leave. No one welcomes a clingy ex who refuses to let go. Marco's expression darkened slightly. I never had any feelings for you. Being with you was only to make Diana come back to me. Even if you waited 10 years, there would never be any possibility between us. I'm going to marry Diana. I will never fail her in this life. You should let go of the past as soon as possible and stop obsessing over me. Diana looked me over and couldn't resist making fun of me. I can understand why you can't get over Marco. He's so outstanding now. Definitely no longer the poor guy he was 10 years ago. I was wearing the simplest clothes, stained with spilled red wine. She clicked her tongue dramatically. I would never embarrass Marco like this. Weren't you the one who graduated from some elite university? Now that you're doing poorly, you want to come running back to him? Let me tell you, you'd better take back those delusional thoughts. He's about to marry me. Marco was silent for a moment before he pulled out his phone in irritation. You leaving without a word back then was wrong, but so was my silence. Consider this compensation for saving my life back then. 1 million. Are you satisfied now? Suddenly, his expression froze. He jerked his head up to stare at me. You blocked me on every platform? I shrugged casually. Since we were both reborn, and I already knew he didn't love me, why would I keep him? Thinking of the jealous man waiting at home, I couldn't help smiling helplessly. If he found out I hadn't completely cut off my ex, he would definitely sulk in secret for a long time. You said it yourself, we've both started new lives, and we shouldn't interfere with each other. Marco's face turned ashen. His throat moved several times, but he still didn't say anything. I looked at him calmly. There's no need for compensation. I don't want it. My few words completely infuriated Marco. He laughed coldly. What are you pretending for? If it weren't for the fact that you once saved me, you wouldn't even have the right to speak to me. Diana comforted him gently. Marco, not everyone deserves your kindness. She appeared here deliberately. Who knows what shady intentions she has? I bet she's here for your money. Diana's tone was triumphant, but she seemed to forget that the greediest person had always been her. In my previous life, Diana insisted on going abroad specifically to chase wealthy heirs. When I first met Marco, he had just broken up with Diana, but he always believed she left because he wasn't good enough. During his darkest time, I was the one who stayed by his side, encouraging him and helping him walk out of the shadow of abandonment. He wanted to start a business and open a design studio. I used the money I had saved for studying abroad to support him, even at the cost of cutting ties with my family. The very first contract he signed, I earned it for him by relying on my father's connections, and drinking myself into the hospital just to secure the opportunity. It was Marco who first told me, drunk, that he liked me, but I knew about his past with Diana, and I had seen the photos he couldn't bring himself to delete. When he confessed to me again, he deleted all those photos in front of me. He repeatedly promised me that he would love me forever, that he would only be good to me for the rest of his life. She betrayed me. I've been disappointed for a long time. Meeting you showed me what real love is. I will do everything to make you happy. And as he said, we did last 10 years together. Even his childhood friends were shocked. I thought he was being impulsive, but I didn't expect you two to last this long. But they only saw the surface. They didn't know that Marco never wanted to marry me. Camila, you know my parents' marriage was miserable. I've never believed in marriage. We're doing fine as we are, until his grandmother became seriously ill. Her only wish was to see him married with a family. He reluctantly gave in. On the day we got our marriage certificate, the news came that Diana had committed suicide abroad. He abandoned me and jumped off the rooftop. While sorting his belongings, I found a box full of unsent letters, all written to Diana. He had loved her so much. He had never let her go. Before he died, he sent one last message to Diana's number that had blocked him years ago. Diana, since we cannot be together in this life, I will marry you in the next. My love for him died completely at that moment. That's why, after being reborn, I only wanted a new life, one without him. Who he loved, who he married, didn't matter. I didn't care anymore. Marco left, and I blocked every way to contact him. I thought we would never see each other again. I didn't expect to meet him here. I wanted to leave. But Diana stepped in front of me, clearly wanting to humiliate me in public. I don't know how you sneaked in here. If you really wanted to see Marco, the least you could do was dress up properly. You're obviously here to earn pity. I just happen to know the manager of this hotel. Why don't I recommend you for a cleaning job? And please, stop clinging to Marco. The waiter echoed her words. Our hotel is the best in the whole capital. Countless people dream of applying but can't even get in. What are you staring at? Hurry up and thank Diana. I was anxious to leave, so I replied perfunctorily. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't need it. I have a job. I'm a designer. The moment the words left my mouth, Marco's expression stiffened, and then he couldn't stop himself from letting out a mocking laugh. How much can you earn from design? Dreams can't fill your stomach. The opportunity Diana is giving you is something many people would kill for. Don't be ungrateful. He looked at me with fake surprise. Don't tell me you look down on cleaning staff? Judging from his reaction, I knew he was yet again overestimating his importance. I liked design, not because of him. In my previous life, I gave up my dream for his sake. This life, I didn't want to leave any regrets. After he died for Diana, I finally saw him clearly. After being reborn, I had no lingering attachment. I invested in myself, went abroad to study design with full determination. Opening a design company now is entirely for myself. I didn't want to get entangled with them any further. So I said politely but distantly, I'm very happy doing the work I love. I don't need your concern. My indifference infuriated Marco. He frowned, speaking in a harsh tone. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't come begging me for opportunities in the future. I smiled faintly. There was no need to tell him the truth. My brand was wildly successful at home and abroad. Featured in numerous international magazines, I simply kept a low profile and never showed my face. But over the years, the money I made had already secured financial freedom for me. Still, my overly casual outfit did look out of place in the opulent, glittering banquet hall. If my son hadn't insisted on playing hide-and-seek with me, and vanished the moment I turned around, I wouldn't have rushed out wearing just a random jacket. The waiter suddenly widened his eyes at me, pointing at my jacket in shock. Hermes? That coat is worth more than your whole year's salary. How could you possibly afford it? Did you steal it from somewhere? Hurry up and confess. Chapter 3. I suppressed the irritation in my chest and forced myself to speak patiently. The coat is mine. Diana frowned and let out a cold laugh. Don't joke around. This coat is a limited edition piece. Oh. I get it. She covered her lips and chuckled lightly. Where did you buy this knockoff? It looks pretty realistic. I'll give you that. But someone like you, even if you wore a real designer item, it would still look fake. The onlookers couldn't help mocking me as well. She can't even afford her next meal. Yet she's pretending she can. Does she really think wearing luxury brands will help her seduce a rich man? Marco looked at me, unable to hide the disappointment in his eyes, and waved his hand dismissively with disgust. All these years and you still haven't changed. Still a vain, gold-digging woman. You make me sick. I glanced at the waiter who was enjoying the show, frowning. What I wear has nothing to do with you. People with dirty hearts see everything as dirty. I won't defend myself, because even if I slapped the purchase record across your face, you'd still find new ways to nitpick. I knew very well. He was simply following the wind, trying to please Marco by making things difficult for me. As expected, the waiter's face turned awkward. He lowered his head uneasily. If not for the fact that we must maintain the hotel's image and be respectful to tonight's honored guests, I would have already called the police and thrown you out. Upon hearing that, Marco couldn't help speaking. The honored guest you're referring to must be Luis, right? He's the only son of the richest man. I heard he's acquired your hotel and is coming to discuss new business. Diana eagerly nodded, unable to hide her excitement. Marco is holding this banquet here today, so he can have the chance to meet Luis. Once the guests heard the name Luis, they could no longer suppress their excitement and began discussing animatedly. Luis is the only son of the wealthiest family, young, brilliant, and handsome like a movie star. His assets are almost surpassing his father's. Too bad he married so young. I wonder who's so lucky that Luis loves her so deeply. While everyone was talking, the hotel manager rushed into the banquet hall, looking extremely anxious, followed by several staff members. Sorry for the interruption. Has anyone seen a child about 3 years old, wearing a white shirt? The manager was replying to messages, while urging the waiters to search faster. Seeing such a big commotion, someone couldn't help speculating aloud. Is it the young master? He just turned 3 this year, right? Upon hearing this, the guests began searching as well. After all, this was the best chance to build a connection with Luis. Marco and Diana stopped paying attention to me and also joined the search. I stayed where I was. When I saw a flash of white behind the hall curtains, I immediately stepped forward. Sure enough, I found my son curled up behind the curtains. I spoke in a low voice. At last, I found you, but my son refused to get up, muttering, "You took so long, you lost. You have to buy me a new toy." I was just about to pick him up when Diana suddenly appeared behind me and shouted sharply, "Camila, what do you think you're doing? For money, you even dare to threaten the Gu family's young master? Are you insane?" Marco quickly walked over and yanked me away. "I didn't expect you to be such a vile, scheming woman." The waiter immediately complained to the manager. "It's her. She snuck into the banquet and disturbed the guests. And she even stole someone's coat." The manager's expression darkened instantly as he called for security. "Send this thief to the police station immediately. If anything happens to the young master of the Gu family, all of you will be packing your things and leaving." Diana cleared her throat, then crouched down with what she believed was a gentle smile, trying to approach the Gu family's young master. "Don't be afraid. Big sister will protect you." But my son dodged her touch, and under everyone's stunned gaze, threw himself straight into my arms. "Mommy, I waited for you so long. Next time you have to find me faster, okay?" Chapter 4. I sighed and took his hand. "We agreed you wouldn't go downstairs. You scared Mommy half to death." Seeing his eyes turn red with grievance, Diana couldn't help saying, "Why are you making such a fuss? Kids are supposed to be energetic. What's wrong with that?" I let out a cold laugh. "I'm his biological mother. Why can't I discipline him? It's not your turn to play the good guy." Only then did Diana finally process what my son had just called me. She stared at me with wide eyes. Her gaze moved back and forth between me and my son, and her pale fingertips exposed her growing panic. My son tugged at my sleeve and whispered cautiously, "Mommy, I'm so sleepy. I want to go back and rest." I couldn't resist pinching his chubby little cheeks. "You ran off and disappeared for so long. Today I'm not helping you beg Daddy for forgiveness." He was at that age where he loved to play, and he always clung to me and Luis, asking us to play with him, especially hide and seek. He could play it the entire afternoon without getting tired. This time, we had come for business. Luis was busy in the conference room, and I couldn't stand his pleading eyes. So I agreed to play with him in our room. Who knew that when the cleaning lady came in, he'd sneak out as soon as I looked away? Seeing my stern expression, my son rubbed his face against my palm. "Mommy, I won't do it again. Please don't be mad, okay?" The manager at the side stared at me in shock. his voice trembling. Why, you're Mr. Luis's wife? I nodded. Yes, I am. He immediately forced out a flattering smile and bowed repeatedly toward me. This is entirely our fault. We've caused trouble for you and Mr. Luis. We've already prepared a complimentary dessert set. Please take the young master back to your room and enjoy it together. My son touched his belly and looked up at me with wide, round eyes. I knew he was hungry. So I picked him up, ready to take him back to the room. Suddenly, someone called out to stop me. It was Marco. His expression was complicated. And after hesitating for a long time, he finally asked in uncertainty, You're married? And you have a son? I withdrew my gaze and replied calmly, I got married after returning from studying abroad. Luis and I met while studying overseas. At that time, he had gone abroad for business negotiations. And when he returned to visit his advisor at the university, he happened to meet me. Still a student, I was my advisor's favorite pupil. And he enthusiastically introduced me to Luis. As we interacted more, we discovered many surprising similarities between us. By the time I graduated, we were already together. I originally thought that because our family backgrounds were so different, his family wouldn't approve of me, but unexpectedly, his family, just like him, hoped we could get married sooner. Camila, my parents only want me to be happy. They support every decision I make. You're outstanding, don't belittle yourself. You deserve the best in the world. Being with you is my good fortune. It was Luis who made me understand that I was someone worthy of love. He proved everything with actions and made me firmly choose to marry him. The boy in my arms tugged at me impatiently. Mommy, I'm hungry, and I miss Daddy too. He said he would buy me Lego, but Marco refused to move. He stood in front of me, the coldness on his face completely shattered. Are you doing this on purpose to anger me? Didn't you say you'd love only me in this lifetime? That you'd stop believing in love if you left me? You said something like that? A cool, low male voice sounded, and the surroundings fell silent in an instant. Everyone looked toward the elegant man who had just arrived. The manager hurried over. Mr. Luis, your young master has been found. Luis walked straight toward me, and naturally took our son from my arms. He cast a glance at Marco, who stood awkwardly to the side, then lowered his head and asked me, So this is your ex-boyfriend? Chapter 5. I was afraid he would misunderstand and get jealous, so I hurried to explain. We weren't even together for a few days before breaking up. We haven't contacted each other for 10 years. Seeing how anxious I was to draw a clear line, Marco's brows visibly furrowed after hearing my explanation. Ignoring his expression, I continued, I never said such things. If I didn't believe in love, how would I have married you? Marco stared at me and let out a bitter sigh. Yes, I had said those words, but that was in my previous life. After being reborn, he wanted to leave me, and I had also figured it out. It was time to start a new life. Old promises no longer counted. But he panicked, and the words he said clearly hadn't passed through his brain. Camila, how can you let go of our past so easily and be with someone else? You have no heart. Diana clenched her fists, her whole body trembling as she looked at Marco in disbelief. He had been tenderly devoted to her just moments ago. I looked at the unwilling Marco with amusement. How can you accuse me? You can be with Diana, but I'm supposed to grow old alone? You two are getting married next month. What's the point of saying all this now? My words left Marco completely silent. His face turned red. Diana glared at me fiercely and snapped. Marco, she's been married for a long time. She even has a child. Don't forget how you pursued me all these years. I'm the one who stayed by your side. But the moment she grabbed Marco's hand, he flung her away, embarrassed by Marco in public. Diana's eyes instantly reddened. In the past, Marco couldn't bear to see her suffer even a little. But now, he wouldn't even spare her a glance. Diana looked at me with hatred so intense it could cut me into pieces. Luis remained calm and said lazily, My wife must be too charming. Even an ex from so long ago is still hung up on her. Aren't you getting married? Who are you pretending to be sentimental for? Marco's face turned pale. He waved his hands nervously. I didn't. I interrupted him mercilessly. Marco, we are in the past. Now I have a husband who loves me and a sensible son. I'm very happy. And I've never regretted my choice back then. Marco and I spent 10 years together, during the hardest days of his startup. During his severe illnesses in the hospital, I was always the one beside him. But now, those 10 years of feelings were brushed aside by me with one word: past. Marco looked at me, his voice choked. Camila, have you forgotten everything we had? I don't believe you could let go so easily. You loved me so much, everyone knew. Luis raised an eyebrow, already impatient. A few days together and you've clung to it like this? She's my wife now. Don't even think about stirring up trouble. Only I knew that Marco's past meant a full decade. But in this life, I gave those 10 years of companionship to Luis, and he deserves them. Even if I told Luis the truth, he probably wouldn't believe it. I shook my head lightly inside. I didn't forget. I just don't care anymore. You were able to walk away from me without hesitation, so why can't I let go? Since we both have new lives now, there's no need to cling to the past. These were all the words he once said to me. Now, I'm returning them to him, word for word. Marco, I have no feelings for you. We ended long ago, and there is absolutely no possibility between us. Perhaps my tone was too cold. Marco lowered his head without saying a word. I wasn't planning to continue getting entangled with him. But Luis was never someone who swallows grievances or lets others bully me. He couldn't stand seeing me wronged. Holding my waist, he spoke. Who was it just now that accused my wife of being a thief? Who was yelling about sending her to the police station? The manager glared at the waiter who had targeted me. The waiter trembled violently and apologized repeatedly. I didn't recognize VIPs. I misunderstood Miss Camila. I apologized to her. He kept bowing. All the arrogance he had earlier completely gone. Seeing Luis remain silent, he gritted his teeth and began slapping his own face. It's my fault. I looked down on Miss Camila because I was blind. Luis let out a cold laugh and turned his gaze to Diana, who was shrinking in the corner. So you're the one who kept making things difficult for my wife? My wife doesn't need you to introduce her to a job. She is the co-owner of this hotel. Chapter 6. He looked Diana up and down and mocked. My wife earns more in a single month than your entire company makes in 3 years. Instead of laughing at others, you should consider whether you're even qualified. Judging others based solely on appearances, your horizons must be embarrassingly small. Diana forced an awkward smile and instinctively hid behind Marco. Please don't take it seriously. I was just joking. She's an old acquaintance of Marco's. So I just wanted to be friendly. The guests at the banquet didn't even dare breathe after seeing Luis. Now that they witnessed him standing up for me, they immediately lowered their heads. No one wanted to offend him. Luis took my hand and gently brushed aside the strands of hair beside my cheek. I gave him a sweet smile and said softly, "Husband, you're the best." Marco saw us preparing to leave and wanted to rush forward to say something. But Luis's bodyguards blocked him coldly. Back in the suite upstairs, Luis instructed the staff to bathe and change our son. Once the room held only the two of us, he squeezed my shoulders, displeased. Wife, I don't think I've treated you well enough. Otherwise, how could I have let them bully you? I already told my assistant to order every limited haute couture release. From now on, wherever you go, my Camila will be the most dazzling one. I couldn't help but smile helplessly. I'll toughen up next time and not let people push me around. Don't waste money like that. People who want to make things hard for you don't care whether you're dressed in luxury or not. Luis immediately refuted me. Spending money on my wife makes me happy. Not just clothes, bags, and jewelry. Next time when we go out, I'll assign 10 bodyguards to you. Let's see who dares to touch a single strand of your hair. Luis always showed a childish side when he was with me. After what happened today, the one who blamed himself the most was him. Since our marriage, Luis had loved me devotedly. Many believed we wouldn't last, that Luis would eventually get tired of me, and divorce was only a matter of time. After all, wealthy families value matching backgrounds, and the gap between our identities was far too great. But Luis used his actions to silence everyone who doubted us. He always put me first, respected my thoughts, and supported every decision I made. He loved taking me around the world to broaden my horizons, loved introducing me to more people so I could build connections and accumulate resources for my career. Marrying him was the happiest thing that ever happened to me. In my previous life, I was betrayed by Marco and almost lost the ability to love. It was Luis who pieced me back together with his love, who made me believe once again that I was worthy of being loved. I thought that after the banquet, I would never see Marco again, but unexpectedly, just after I signed a contract with a client, I ran into him again at a cafe. Marco was dressed cleanly and neatly, very much like the man he used to be. When he saw me coming out, he immediately stood up and stopped me. "Camila, I came here to wait for you." His posture was stiff, his voice uneasy. "We were together for 10 whole years. You can't possibly have let go. You still love me, right?" I wanted to leave, but he grabbed my wrist and stared at me stubbornly. "Otherwise, why would you appear here?" That was when I realized this cafe was somewhere we used to come often, especially in his early startup days. He loved sketching designs here, and I sat beside him negotiating business deals for him. But this time, it was the client who chose the location. The interior decor had changed. I didn't think much of it. What bothered me was how Marco got hold of my private schedule. I felt speechless. What exactly was he obsessing over? What answer did he want from me? "Marco, I won't repeat myself a third time. What's the point of looking for me? It's been 10 years. Not everyone has to live trapped in the past. That's just punishing yourself." "Love you? Isn't that ridiculous? In the last life, I loved you, but on the very day we got our marriage license, you chose to die for Diana. After being reborn, you couldn't wait to leave me. Now your regrets from your past life are resolved, and you're about to marry her. What more do you want? I already have a family. I will never leave my husband. It was you who made the choice first, and that choice allowed me to finally see you clearly." Marco tightened his grip on my arm, his voice frantic. "Why can't we be together again? I regret it, Camila. I truly regret it. Diana and I are only engaged. We haven't married, and I will never marry her." Chapter 7. His attitude left me completely unable to figure him out. I had thought that even if we met again, we would only be strangers. After all, he once looked at me with disgust, and even said with his own mouth that I was a stain in his life. And now he wants to get back together? What kind of joke was this? I shook off his hand and said unhappily, "You already betrayed one person. There's no need for you to betray another. You loved her so much you preferred to die, rather than be with me. Is there any point in pretending to be devoted now?" "Camila, I wronged you." Pain flashed across his face. "I admit everything I did. But after truly being with Diana, I finally realized that what I felt for her was only obsession. I didn't love her as much as I thought. She's wanted to marry me for years, but I kept avoiding it for 10 years. Isn't the reason obvious? Because I didn't love her. Because I couldn't forget you. How I wish you could have stayed by my side." His words made me laugh in anger. How familiar this storyline was. In the last life, I was the one begging for marriage, and delayed for 10 years. Now it became Diana's turn. The person Marco loved most had always been himself. To him, only what he couldn't get was the best. "When I'd your belongings in the last life, I found all the letters you wrote to Diana. I knew you for so many years. Yet you never wrote me even a single letter. Over 50 words. But every line in those letters was filled with your love for her. Stop lying to yourself." Not only that, but those photos he deleted had all been backed up in his encrypted drive, and your last message was sent to her. Weren't you the one who said that even in death, you wanted to marry her? I will never forget your betrayal. You can't have everything in life. Marco quickly tried to explain, but I really regret it. She only knows how to enjoy luxury. She refuses to endure hardship with me. And she wouldn't take care of me the way you did. Enough. I interrupted him sharply. Marco, I'm not your mother. I have no obligation to take care of you. And as for Diana, since you chose her, you should accept everything she is. She went abroad. Why? To chase rich men. Wasn't that what you told me back then? Have you forgotten her nature? She's greedy. Marco shook his head. Everyone makes mistakes. Camila, can't we start over? I now have the ability to give you a good life. I'll treat you well forever. I won't disappoint you again. His words made me see clearly once more. Marco was nothing more than a selfish, ridiculous man. Is Luis not more capable than you? Heaven doesn't owe you anything. How could you get chance after chance? Don't be so greedy. I stared into his eyes and said every word clearly. Even if we were given a do-over, I would never choose you. Marco protested unwillingly. I'm the one who spent 10 years with you. I don't think I gave less than Luis. You must have chosen him for his family background. You're just trying to provoke me to turn back. Fine. I admit it. I'm jealous. You win. Camila. Marco hadn't changed at all, thinking of the past. I only felt sorrow for myself. What did you ever give me? Endless bad moods? Was I just a trash can for you to dump your emotions? Do you know why I'm even more certain now? Because being loved by Luis made me understand that you never loved me. Love is tolerance, mutual understanding, companionship, and sacrifice. Ask yourself, which of those did you do? Marco's expression grew uglier and uglier. He couldn't refute a single word. I sighed softly. You said you'd be good to me. You said that in the last life too. But did you keep your word? I stayed with you through your hardest years, through your illness. I was always there. But you? You never considered my feelings. You made me a joke in the eyes of others. I wasted my career, threw away my dreams. I wasted 10 years of my life. Love isn't supposed to turn someone into a hysterical mess. It's supposed to make someone better. But with you, all I felt was endless self-doubt and exhaustion. I walked past him and headed for the door. In this life, I don't regret my choice. I'm going to live for myself. You only want me to compromise for you, to keep changing for you. But Luis, he loves the whole real me. Chapter 8. Marco completely disappeared from my life. But Luis, intentionally or not, kept bringing him up, clearly jealous. After seeing Marco at the cafe, I went home and immediately told Luis what happened. Swearing that I would never have any entanglement with Marco again, I focused on my career. And before long, I saw news online that Marco had gone bankrupt. The former rising star was now in massive debt. It turned out to be Diana. In order to take revenge on Marco, she took all his money and went to the casinos in Australia. Not only did she lose all his assets, she even gambled away his company. Someone filmed her in the casino. In the video, Diana didn't look defeated at all. Instead, she was laughing hysterically. Marco, what right do you have to abandon me? If you don't act like a human, don't blame me for being ruthless. You will never get rid of me in this lifetime. Netizens sighed at her madness. They were always the model couple. Turns out it was all fake. I heard they were about to get married. The groom spent almost 100 million on preparations. What a pity. Did you not hear clearly? Marco dumped her first. But I'll admit, this woman really is extreme. As the saying goes, when a person falls, everyone steps on them. Many people Diana had once offended came out to kick her while she was down. Diana stole my boyfriend in high school, and she only got into senior high because she cheated. You all don't know? She was supposed to study abroad, but it was because an old rich man was sponsoring her. Otherwise, with her family's bankruptcy, how could she afford it? Luis shook his head repeatedly. All of this is exactly what they deserve. Seeing me silent for a long time, he cautiously asked, "You're not feeling sorry for that scumbag, right?" I shook my head. This is his fate. He knew Diana's nature from the beginning. He's the one who chose to jump into the fire pit. After doing all of that, Diana fled abroad. The next time I saw Marco was at the City Oncology Hospital. He was thin beyond recognition. Cheeks sunken in, the doctor said he didn't have much time left. And his only wish was to see me one last time. Luis gently patted my back. I'll go with you. When Marco saw me, he suddenly sat up from the bed, but when his gaze fell on Luis behind me, the light in his eyes dimmed again. What do you still want to say to my wife? Marco hesitated for a long time, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. As he stared at Luis, she wasn't with me for just a few days. She was with me for a whole 10 years. Luis froze for a moment, then opened his mouth. You must be joking. Do you even know how old she is? I know her past better than you, but my heart sank completely. Marco wouldn't let me have peace, even in death. He laughed indifferently. If it's not true, why doesn't she deny it? I took a deep breath, since I couldn't avoid it. I could only tell Luis myself. It sounds ridiculous, but in another timeline, I was indeed with him for 10 years. Luis's gaze turned cold. Hard to believe, right? But both of us lived a second life. This time, I wanted to live for myself. I just didn't expect to meet him again. Enough. Hearing Luis's words, Marco couldn't hold back a laugh. Camila, don't think he loves you that much. No man would accept a woman who's been married. But Luis took my hand. I know Camila's character better than anyone. If you hadn't truly hurt her to the core, she wouldn't have found the strength to leave. I only hate that I didn't meet her earlier. But I do thank you. If it weren't for you, Camila wouldn't have gone abroad. And I would have never met her. Even Marco looked shocked. You don't care? She was with me for 10 years. Luis suppressed his anger. So you hurt her for 10 years. With that, Luis pulled me out of the hospital. Only after we got into the car did his eyes turn slightly red. He held me tightly, as if holding a treasure. Camila, I won't let you suffer anything ever again. So this was love, heartache, and unconditional trust. Later, Marco died in that hospital. But as for everything about him, I didn't care anymore. Nor did I want to know. I linked my arm with Luis's and held our son's hand as we headed for the airport. My design work had just won another international award. This time, I finally welcomed the life that truly belonged to me.